Hello and welcome back to another video. So today I'm starting up this new little series, which will be very similar to this, talking about different ideals and why we have them. So my whole thinking behind doing this is that a lot of ideas, people don't understand why we have them, why they are a thing. And I'm going to be discussing a few ones that I agree with, a few ones I disagree with. I really don't know at this point, so we'll see where it goes. And yes, I'm well aware that this topic has kind of been done to death, except I've seen very few videos actually talking about the whole idea of freedom of speech. So freedom of speech has been believed to have originated in Athens and was integral to the Roman Empire, and later on in obviously the US Constitution, and even later on the EU Bill of Rights as well as the UN Bill of Rights. So the idea behind freedom of speech is the ability to criticize or to impart any ideas without facing judgment or punishment from the law. From here, all ideas can be criticized by the public, and along with things such as the scientific method, research, and so on and so forth, the best ideas can be kept by society, while ones that don't stand up to public scrutiny can be pushed to the side. Now, I am aware that this does not always happen. Sometimes the public, even in a free society, still keeps some bad ideas. However, I believe that this is still far better than the alternative, where in a society without freedom of speech, some bad ideas can still be upheld by their society, long past their relevancy, since dissent is usually punished as a crime against the authorities. Now, no idea is all roses, and the most common problem that is brought up by people who are against freedom of speech is generally taking offense and bullying and that sort of problem. Now, ignoring the fact that I think it is better for people to learn with themselves being bullied rather than to hide themselves from it, this actually does present another problem, and that is that ideas which could be considered hurtful towards certain people or certain groups would be avoided or shut down purely on the basis that they are offensive. This is something that actually does happen today, and the simple takeaway is that not all ideas that do offend people are necessarily bad, which seems to be completely ignored by the people going on the offense anti-free speech camp. A nice topical example of this is the fact that it's often considered offensive or Islamophobic to criticize Islam. However, practically nobody in the Western world would be in favor of blasphemy laws, something that is prevalent in majority Muslim nations. Now, I would like to just take a minute to acknowledge the one sort of area where free speech is generally not considered, and that is the incitement to action or violence. Now, I'm no free speech absolutist, but generally this is sort of considered in a slightly different category, but something you always have to remember is context matters. So just yelling fire in some contexts is alright. This is a subtlety that's often ignored by people in order to get a point across that free speech is somehow harmful. The other argument against free speech that I've seen is the idea that the general populace isn't smart enough to separate good ideas from bad ideas. Personally, I'd like to think that all people are at least searching for the truth and hence are slowly building towards what is actually true. But either way, teaching people how to think critically is the key, and I think that that's something that's easily achievable, and I think is generally motivated by our free society. The other quick problem I have with this way of thinking is that it assumes the authorities or the people in power are always right, which is not always the case. Well, that about wraps up my ideas on free speech. To sum it all up, ideas are like a garden, and for some reason the plants don't actually grow, so it's always looking good. And we have a garden with a pickaxe, and he has to try and hit out the weeds and avoid the flowers. And I feel like the people generally are aiming for the right thing, but it's too easy to miss and dig out a whole heap of roses. This, I think, is especially true considering the very polarizing nature of our politics today. Anyway, leave your thoughts and comments down below. Bye-bye.